Why do higher vampires sleep in cathedrals, not tombs, not crypts, sanctuaries of stone and shadow? Not resting continent-born for places, crypts, millennia, altars. Vampires sleep in beings displaced by cathedrals' conjunctions, masquerading as continent sanctuaries of born for millennia, have shaped a lie deeper than blood. They cultivate the fear of sunlight not as weakness, but as a chain, a weapon. Every stained glass prism, every towering spire designed to amplify dread, to keep the faithful kneeling, to keep the world blind. Is the truth every thave towering buried? Cathedrals are altars, not tombs. Spires channel dread into a currency. 5 centuries after the conjunction, higher vampires etched their dominion into stone. They taught humans to fear the sun as a divine punishment, but the light was never the danger. It was the mirror. By engineering reverence for shadow, they stacked a hierarchy, themselves in darkness, lesser vampires in half-light, humans in blinding ignorance. Witchers emerged not to kill monsters, but to preserve this fragile balance. Every staked vampire reinforced the lie. Every ritual buried the truth deeper. The conjunction did not unite worlds, it weaponized division. Who built these cathedrals? Who maintains them? The answer waits in the dust of every kneeler. Stone breathes, incense clings to vaulted ceilings like a toxin. Beneath stained glass, shadows pool thick as blood. Higher vampires did not inherit these cathedrals, they sculpted them. Each arch is a throat, each confessional a mouth. They let humans carve the stories, never minding if saints or devils hold the chisel. The fear of light, a thread in their weave. Centuries ago, a grandmaster in Krakow tested this. He let a novitiate vampire burn under midday sun, screams melting to ash. The congregation's terror became law. Now, every creaking door, every candle's flicker is a lesson. They know what the conjunction did not kill: adaptation. A vampire in a bishop's robe bends the knee, but his joints crackle with prehuman memory. Sunlight is not a weakness, it is a contract, a price paid for illusion. The Codex of Blood and Wine calls it *ars terrorum *, the art of terror. When a priest whispers *benedicite*, he is not blessing you, he is testing how deep the fear sits. How long until you kneel not for God, but for the dark? The stone breathes cold, incense curls slow, sweet, and lies. Shadows pool in the cathedral's ribs like old wine. Here the vampires do not hide, they kneel. Their cloaks brush mosaic floors, each motion a rehearsed prayer. A priest chants in Latin, his voice a blade splitting the gloom. But the vampire's pupils are not dilating from light, they are sharpening, calculating the tremor in the worshipper's throat. A ciborium glints at the altar. Its silver is polished by generations of careful handshuman and not the vampire's own. He offers communion to the faithful, his thumb pressing a host's edge. The bread is stale, the ritual real. To them it is. His teeth, when they sink, do not rend, they savor. A Lord's feast is no different from a beggar's. Both are performances. Both are consent. The sunlight streaming through rose windows is not a threat, it is a script. They have spent centuries staging its terror, letting kings and peasants alike whisper of the curse that binds them. A curse, they wrote. The vampire's weakness is a lock, and every crucifix, every shuttered window, is a key given to the fearful. They do not fear the sun, they fear what the vampires want them to fear. The cathedral is not a refuge. It is a theater, and in the darkened pews, the living rehearse their own submission. The vampire's breath fogs the air with warm *human*. He smiles, not all power is stolen. Some is freely given in the silence between hymns, in the ache of a shadow that will not lift. Why do higher vampires sleep in cathedrals? Not for worship, for leverage. Sunlight's fear is not their weakness, it is the chain they forge for others. A Velen peasant once whispered of Beauclair's dead, bodies drained, yet no hunger in the killer's eyes, only purpose. The Toussaint witness spoke of a beast that moved like a bishop, not a predator. It did not feed, it judged *. A higher vampire's hunt is not survival, it is correction. They strike predators, not prey, serial murderers, usurpers. Those who soil the continent's name, ethical, perhaps, selective, always. Blood and Wine's carnage was no accident, it was a demonstration. The beast of Beauclair was a sermon in fangs, *, we are the cure your kind cannot bear. The cathedrals are not sanctuaries. They are pulpits. From stone tombs they preach a gospel of order while the sun becomes their altar, and the faithful kneel, trembling. A higher vampire's curse is a performance. The rot in their veins is a lie they let you believe. They burn when sunlight touches their skin, yes, but only because they allow it. A mask of vulnerability, to make mortals forget they are the architects of this fear. The real power is not in hiding from daylight, it is in making you fear it first. The killings in Towsaint were a mirror. What did it show? A world where monsters are not the ones with fangs, but the ones with crowns, the ones who drain life not in hunger, but in entitlement. Higher vampires do not rule by force, they rule by reflection. You think their cathedrals are tombs, they are theaters. And the curtain is about to rise. The cathedral's stained glass does not filter light, it fractures it. Each shard a prism, each shadow a lesson. Fear is the liturgy, obedience the sacrament. Higher vampires do not shun the sun. They shatter it into 1,000 mirrors, each reflecting a witcher's oldest wound. The trial of the grasses cannot be unlearned, its alchemy burns in their marrow. A witcher's blade seeks the quen, a vampire's hymn implants it. Every ritual, every incense-thick ceremony is a reenactment of that first scalding. The Velen contract was never about hunting strigas. It was a test, a stage. The witchers, conditioned to see quen as a death sentence, did not question why the vampires had no need to hide. Why their palaces gleamed with stained glass and silvered stone. The higher hierarchy does not flee light, they parse it. They know which wavelengths trigger the witcher's primal flinch, which refracted glints will make a slayer stumble, and stumble they did. Hands raised not in peace but in reflex, swords unsheathed to block what they could not unsee. A trap built for the trial's curse. The vampire prince watches the witcher blind himself again and again. What is power if not the ability to make a monster repeat its origin story? The cathedrals are not tombs. They are classrooms, and the final lesson is this: you cannot unscorch a wound that lives in your bones. The claim that sunlight fear is a manufactured hierarchy tool disregards ancient truths. Vampire dread of daylight is innate, a curse woven into their being. Cathedrals are not tombs. They are engines of control, yes, but not through invention. Sapkowski's chronicles reveal a subtler horror. Higher vampires exploit existing dread, not fabricate it. Their rituals amplify the fear, yes, but only because the wound is already there. To call this manipulation a construct is to misunderstand the alchemy of power. The hierarchy does not create the weakness, it weaponizes it. A vampire's scorching agony is bone-deep, unchosen. The cathedrals teach disciples to resent this flaw, to redirect pain into obedience. CDPR may suggest the fear is engineered, but Sapkowski's vampires suffer it as birthright. The distinction is razor thin. A natural weakness made unnatural through coercion, that is the crime. The sunlight's burn is real. The lesson it enforces is manufactured. Which is worse, the question itself is a distraction. The truth lies in the shadow between. A curse turned key, turning in a lock that has always existed. The cold stone of cathedral walls hums with trapped light, a soundless dirge. Higher vampires lie in crypts of stained glass, their bodies cradled by shadows that feel almost like mercy. Here the sun is not a star, but a shacklate's glow programmed to terrify those below. The scent of melted wax and old blood clings to the air, a perfume of domination. Lower vampires and humans kneel in adjacent catacombs, their skin etched with the same fears etched into the marble, bright, burning death. Yet the truth is higher vampires fear the sun too. They fear what their sources demand, a surrender to light's annihilating grace. So they twist this curse into a chain, letting the terrified masses believe weakness is natural. One high vampire, Arcturus, once tested the experiment. He allowed a cohort of lower vampires to glimpse the sun's true face, not as flame, but as a celestial seal, a barrier between their kind and some older horror. Their terror deepened, they crawled back to the dark, begging for the lie. Arcturus never offered the truth again. Ethical. The word curdles in the throat, they balance morality on a razor. To preserve order, they weaponize despair. Their sources, those primal wells of power, are both blessing and a master's whip. To wield them is to accept the cost eternal vigilance, eternal guilt. The conspiracy thrives because cathedrals are not tombs. They are theaters, and every performance needs an audience trapped in the dark, whispering asterisk sunlight is death asterisk like a prayer. The confession stinks of incense and rot. Stained glass fractures dawn into blades, carving shadows that dance like devils on altars where vampire lords lie coiled, their fangs glistening with the dew of centuries. You think their hymns are prayers? No, they are blueprints. Each note a brick in the wall that cages the continent's fear. In the hollowed shell of Kedwin's last Witcher school, the silence after the griffin's death is louder than its roar. A novice traces the sigil carved into the floor asterisk solaris et umbra asterisk, but the masters no longer explain its meaning. They only whisper of contracts signed in ash, of cathedrals where sunlight is rationed like bread to the poor. The first griffin's death was the night they stopped teaching us to count stars. A vampire's skin does not blister in daylight. The ritual is theater, the pain a script. They let the common folk burn effigies, let the witchers hunt what they are told to hunt. But when the last hydra falls, when the last lich is salted into dust, what remains? A people conditioned to kneel at the altar of fear. The Witcher archive now shivers at the word asterisk consent asterisk. For centuries they dissected monster physiology, not monster intent. What if the true curse is not the vampire's hunger, but the hunger to be feared? The dread that lingers even as the sun rises is not for the monsters we killed. It is for the ones we asterisk let live asterisk. Why do higher vampires sleep in cathedrals? Blood and wine's killings in Beauclair, Tausaintre they hunts or rituals. The fear of sunlight we call asterisk natural asterisk is a lie etched into stone. Those vaulted arches, stained glass symbols of power, not piety. What if their dread of light is a chain they forged for others? Cathedrals are not sanctuaries. They are classrooms where the hierarchy teaches terror, a single truth: sunlight is not their weakness, it is ours. What else do their shadows guard? What else lies buried beneath pews, waiting to fester? The scent of burning incense clings to stone, masking older stenchous iron decay, the tang of blood long curdled. Beneath each cathedral's hallowed slab, veins of conjunction-arrived blood seep through cracks, pulsing with a warmth that defies the frozen air. They built their thrones on a lie that sunlight was curse, not covenant. When the spheres collided, their hybrid tides spilled holy and monstrous, fusing flesh to forge new hierarchies. A vampire pauses, claw grazing a stained glass, shadow realizes the